for tomorrow's schedule, I want you to discuss amongst yourselves, because it is Friday. Would you like to start a little later? Would you like to finish a little early on Friday? I think, I have not delved into this with the two sides, but I think we're a little ahead of schedule. At the very least, we're back on schedule. So I think we're doing well. And I know how hard it is to listen the way that you're listening. And you're getting a lot of information really pretty fast at you. And sometimes having a little breather helps. So I'm here for you. So you guys talk amongst yourselves. Do not deliberate. Do not talk about any of the facts of the case. But just scheduling, if there's something about the process that you'd like a little breather, I can assure you the lawyers won't object. They're working extremely hard here and outside of your presence. And a couple other things I thought I'd explain to you is, so you might be thinking to yourself, this judge is crazy about people watching their step. You're right, I am. I've had multiple people fall in my courtroom. One of whom got hurt pretty badly and had to leave in an ambulance. So I am very concerned because we do, if you look over the bar, the plugs in this court, well, all the courtrooms here were not designed very well, and they all stick up and they cannot go flat. And so I had a jury very similar to this group here in a very, very long trial as well. So when you're with jurors like this for such a long period of time, we develop a little bit of a bond. And that jury made fun of me for saying, watch your step so much. This is a true story. So we made a deal one day that the next witness, I'm going to just stay quiet. I promise you, I swear it's true. They tripped coming out of the witness box, went flying, did not get hurt. I thought they were going to run out of the courtroom laughing. It was an unbelievable, it just happened. It truly happened. So, yes, I know it's annoying to hear me say it over and over again, but remember, the witnesses, that's their first time walking in. The second part of that is with this microphone. Look back there. This is, in my opinion, always an honor to have this big courtroom like this. And you probably can't tell right now, but if we open those blinds, it is a beautiful, beautiful view of West Palm Beach and up to Singer Island. You can see all the way up to Singer Island. But it's so bright when we're trying to show you photographs. That's why we have them closed. So it's an honor to have this courtroom and for larger trials. And we do ceremonies in here and things of that sort. But the other thing is, the acoustics are terrible in here. So we have people here that are interested in the case, both on a personal level or citizens from the community. I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed we've had 3 jurors that were in your group that didn't get selected. 3 of them, now some of you might not have been in the same group, have come back to watch a trial. And in the back of the courtroom, sometimes you can't hear. And I give you an interesting tidbit. If you see me slide my chair back sometimes when I sit here, I can hear people whisper back there. And it's something about the way the ceiling's built. And any of you been to the United States Capitol building? There's a special spot on the floor that they take you to, and it's historically one of the, in the old times, and I can't remember, I should remember who it was, but one of the senators or congressmen, that's how he spied on members of the other side. There's some kind of anomaly, engineering, that it bounces off the ceiling, and literally you can whisper and hear it as if you're standing right next to the person. So I've actually had trials where if the tables are located in the exact spot, I have to tell one side or the other, I can hear you. So it's interesting, but that is why I tell people, speak into that microphone. And I've been here 16 years and only learned about 3 months ago in another trial that these were called unidirectional microphones, and that when I had it to the side, you hear the difference? It shocked me. And so 16 years, you can teach an old dog new tricks. And so that's why I do it. I know it's annoying, but each witness that comes in, generally it's their first time coming to court. So that gets us going for the morning. Now we'll get to work. The state, remember, Ms. Bryant was on the stand. I got the name correct. Ms. Bryant was on the stand, the CSI, the second CSI. but the state has another witness that's going to be relatively short that they want to get in and out. So they're going to take that witness out of order. So get your pads where you flip it over if you're taking notes. You don't have to. That we're going to actually call a witness out of order, and you can go back. And if anybody needs a new pen or pad, don't hesitate. Tell the deputy. We'll get it for you. With that being said, state, who's the next witness? Travis Brooker. Mr. Booker's in the courtroom. Good morning, sir. Come on up. Watch your step. You're going to come out here. You're going to raise your right hand. You're going to face Mr. Clerk for me.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right. Travis, have a seat right up there. Get yourself comfortable. The chair does swivel. The most important thing is that whole microphone, the base of it moves. It's flexible. Please get it directly in front of your mouth and speak directly into the center. The side does not work. And once you're all situated, if you tell us your full name and slowly spell it for the jurors, please.
Travis Brooker, first and last name.
Please.
Travis Brooker.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brooker. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sorry I called you Booker instead of Brooker. How are you doing today? Where do you live, sir?
1008 Mohawk.
And is that in Jupiter, Florida?
Yes.
How long have you lived there?
Probably 10 years.
I'm sorry?
Probably 10 years.
Okay. Are you familiar with the address of 1105 Mohawk?
No.
Well, do you remember what happened that Super Bowl night in 2017?
A little.
Okay. Were you drinking beer that night?
Absolutely.
All right. Drinking beer throughout the game?
Yeah.
And did you come a time towards the end of the game where you heard something outside?
No, my dogs did.
Okay. And did your dogs alert you to something?
Yes.
Tell us what you did then.
I stepped outside and vaguely remember a kid running and then a car going by.
Okay. Was the kid running from across the street?
He was across the street, yes.
Across the street from you.
Yeah.
Do you have surveillance cameras at your house?
Yes.
Were your surveillance cameras working that night?
Yes.
When you said you saw a kid running, where were you standing, out in front of your house?
Yes.
If I'm standing out in front of your house, like you were, where was the kid running? Was he across the street, next to you, what?
He was across the street to my left.
To your left.
He ran it between two houses.
Okay. And if I could, I'm going to show you something. We marked it as State's Exhibit 297. You remember coming in here just before you testified and looking at a videotape?
Yes.
Was that a videotape of your surveillance camera that night?
Yes.
Did you see yourself on that surveillance camera?
Yes.
You just kind of standing there
Yes.
across the street?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Statement is 297 in evidence at this time with permission to publish at a later time.
Any objection?
No.
Admitted.
Sir. Were you close enough to see the kid's face?
No.
Close enough to see anything other than that?
No.
All right. Thank you. State has no further questions.
Any cross?
No.
Sir, thank you very much. Watch your step. You are free to go. You're excused. State, is Miss Bryant coming back?
Yes.
All right. If you get Miss Bryant for me.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, welcome back. Same instructions to watch your step. The rest of them I'll be quiet about, except for, remember, you're still under oath.
going to my advantage, Jeff.
You're just fine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Yesterday, when we left off, we were talking about your involvement in the investigation of the shooting that happened on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes.
And we were talking about you responding to I-95.
That's correct.
Okay. And where exactly, just want to recap just a little bit. When you responded to I-95, did you respond to northbound, southbound?
It's southbound lanes.
Okay. And do you recall what exit you were close to and what side of the exit you were on, whether you were on the north side or south side of it?
We were in the southbound lanes. We were in the right, like emergency lane. It was between exits 78 and 77, which is 78 would be like Palm Beach Gardens, or Palm Beach Gardens would be north of us, or PGA Boulevard, I'm sorry, would be north of us. And then North Lake would be south of us. And it was in between those two exits. So.
Okay, when you got to that particular scene, were there other officers that were already on scene?
Yes, there were.
Did you know why you were going there prior to your arrival?
I was told that there was a vehicle we needed to recover.
When you arrived at that location, did you observe a vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And can you describe that vehicle for us?
It was I think it was a blue Honda.
Was it dark colored?
Yeah, it was like a dark blue, you know.
And where was it situated?
It was in the right emergency lane, but it was, one of the tires was kind of up on the, I guess we'd call a jersey wall, a little jersey wall.
Had it made contact with the wall of the car?
Yes.
Okay. And,
Or at least the tire did. I don't know about the car itself, but the tire definitely was up on the wall.
okay. And did you notate the make and model of the car?
It was a Honda,
Yeah, would your report refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it was like a Honda Accord, but I'm not sure. I don't think I wrote down. I think it was a Honda Accord, something like, it was a Honda. It was a blue one.
Okay, and once you got there, you told us about the processing that you do when you photograph a scene. You told us about that process. Did you do any sort of processing of the Honda Accord while you were on this side of I-95?
The only thing I did at that time was just photograph it, and some of the windows were down, so I took advantage of photographing the inside. And we may have opened the back door because there was something sticking out of the bottom of the door. So we may have opened the back door just to take a picture and then closed it back up again.
Okay. In addition to photographing, opening the door to the Honda, do you recall there being anything hanging out of one of the doors of the car?
Yes, there was like a black, I didn't know if it was a shirt or a jacket or something, but it was just a piece of it was cloth. It was a piece of black cloth that was hanging out the left rear door at the bottom area.
Okay. Showing Exhibit 115. Is this the vehicle that you saw on the side of the road when you responded?
Yes,
Okay. And was this vehicle ultimately towed from this particular scene?
yes, it was.
Where was it taken to?
It was taken to our secured impound lot, and we have like a metal building there that we keep our cars in, the cars that we're going to be processing, and they're in a secured area that's caged in, and then the garage doors go down and they're locked, and you're only allowed in there if you have the key, and you got to get the key from evidence.
Just going to go back and just show some pictures that go along with some of your testimony. Exhibit 279, you said part of the car was kind of up on the wall there?
Yes,
Okay. And you testified about there being something hanging out of the driver's, what was the driver's side?
it was the left rear door.
Okay.
right there.
And this is states 283. Although you did process the vehicle, you did take some photos of the inside.
Yes.
Now, in addition to taking photographs of the Honda, and you told us that it was ultimately towed, was there anywhere else that law enforcement officers directed you to photograph
Yes.
while out on I-95?
Yes.
Okay, and take us through how it is that you got to another location.
Okay. After I photographed the car, they told me that they had some things that they wanted me to photograph, and it was on the other side of that wall, which was about an 8-foot drop, 8 to 10-foot drop. So I proceeded to I have a folding ladder in my truck, and I got that out to get myself down to that grassy area. This, can't see it. This area right here is about an 8 to 10-foot drop from where that is. And so I used my ladder to go down, and they pointed me to I guess it's like a storm drain type of thing. And they pointed to some evidence that they wanted me to photograph and document there.
About how far away would you say the storm drain or culvert was?
It wasn't that far from the car because I believe in some of my pictures there's a drain like right up here that would go down to that storm drain. So it was, when we went down on the ladder, we would go south, and it was, I don't know, maybe 100 feet, maybe, something like that.
Were there other law enforcement officers down there?
Yes, yes,
This is states 281.
yes.
Okay, what is this that we have here?
That's the storm drain and that's, I'm actually standing up on 95, taking a picture down into the storm drain.
So you're actually, what we over here? Down here?
Yeah, this is that Jersey wall, and I'm actually right here on 95 in the emergency lane, and I'm just leaning over, snapping a picture, leaning over.
And this is a part of you as your job in processing, taking multiple shots, different angles.
Yes, yes,
Now, you told us at some point you went down there. And
Yes.
you also photographed the items that they saw in the culvert or storm drain.
yes, I did.
This is states 264. Were those the two of the items that you saw in the culvert?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and what do we have here?
What I perceive to be the butt of a rifle, and I can't really see what that is from this angle.
Was there also a revolver that was found in there?
Yes. And that might be the revolver right there.
Okay. I'll just show it to you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
that's
it's a
the,
butt of a rifle and a revolver.
yes.
Now, did you handle these items while down there, or what, did you have the assistance of a law enforcement officer?
No, the law enforcement officers recovered the items.
Okay. And did you photograph the items as they were removed from this culvert?
As best I could, yes.
And was that happening while the law enforcement officer was handling them?
Yes.
And is it customary for an officer to render a firearm safe? This is states 272.
Yes, it is.
And did you photograph kind of everything the officer did with the gun as far as bringing the gun out, making it safe, and removing bullets from the gun?
Yes, I tried to get as much as I could, and it is customary. We can't transport a weapon without it being made safe first, so.
This is states 269. And is that a picture of the rifle with the magazine inside?
Yes, it is.
In addition to the rifle and the revolver that were recovered Were there any other items that were found inside?
I believe there was a glove and like a hoodie type jacket. It zips up the front and has the hood. I think it was black.
Now, were those items, let me back up just a second. You also photographed 271, the magazine with the bullets.
Yes, I did.
Now, you talked about a hoodie and some gloves. Were those items right at the opening of the holder, like we saw the rifle and the revolver?
No, they were more shoved in there. It's like they were, the barrel of the gun was like, it was the hoodie and the glove, and then the barrel of the rifle was more in there. So I don't know if the barrel of the rifle pushed that in there or if it was wrapped around it, and that's how it got in there that far, but it was further in.
Okay. And did officers have to kind of go inside to get out?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Okay. And what was recovered in the back of the holder?
The hoodie and the glove.
Okay. And this is states 276. And is this a photo of the hoodie that was recovered?
Yes, it
Back
is.
of the holder? Okay, and you obviously photographed that, right?
Mhm.
And you said there were also gloves that were found?
There was, yeah, at least one black glove. There might have been two, but I don't know if they were in the pocket or if it was, because I didn't actually go in the culvert to get the stuff. So I was, whatever they gave me, I photographed.
Okay, and this is 274.
Yes. Yes.
The gloves that were recovered.
Yes.
Okay, and you specify you don't know whether they were in the sweat, in the hoodie, or just in the culvert, but they came out of there.
Right.
Okay. Now, once the hoodie was pulled out, was there any examination done as to whether there was anything in the pockets?
They searched the pockets. Yes.
Okay. This is 267. And was there anything found inside the pockets?
Yes. Do you want me to tell them or? Okay. It was a key fob to a BMW, and I think there was a key on the keychain.
Okay, and this is states 266.
Yes.
And that's the key fob that was recovered.
Yes, it was.
And do you know, did the key fob have what make of car it belonged to?
I don't know if the key fob did. I don't know if I examined it that much, but it was definitely a BMW because it has BMW emblem on it.
On the key fob?
On the key fob, yes.
And did you take possession of that as well?
The key fob? Yes. Mhm.
Along with the hoodie and the gloves?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you recall whether the keys to the Honda were still in the Honda?
No, they were not.
Okay, do you know where those were recovered?
The keys to the Honda?
Yes.
You know what? I don't know. They may have been in the car still. I don't really remember that because I didn't go in the Honda, so I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I was thinking of the BMW.
Fine, it's
so.
fine. You took those. We know you took those keys,
Yes.
right? Okay. At this point, as you get the hoodie, you discover a key to a BMW. Have you made the connection, or have you been told that the BMW back in the Paseos neighborhood is related?
I don't know if at that time I had gotten, because I know I had to go back out and process that vehicle, so I don't remember if it was before this one or after this one. I think it was after though, so I wasn't sure.
Okay. And you responded to I-95 on February 6th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, also on February 6th, did you respond after finishing at I-95? Let me ask you, did you wait for the car to be towed?
I believe I was sent back to the scene, and then the officers waited on scene because we had an escort to the impound.
Okay. Now, on February 6th, you also respond back to the Paseos neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay. And what time of day was this?
That was later in the day, I believe, if I can check
Within
my...
a fresher recollection?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe it was around 4-ish, though. Something. It was about 3, just after 3.
Okay. I want to back up for just a second. just regarding some items. You responded back to Paseos Way that day, but you had also been there, I guess it would be technically early that morning,
Yes,
like wee hours of the morning.
it was around 12:30-ish, something
Okay,
like that.
Going into the morning. And while there, I believe you testified yesterday that you collected several items that were
Yes.
in the roadway. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I'm going to show you states 300 and 301. You can take a look at these two items for me, Ms. Bryant. States 300 and 301.
Okay.
Do you recognize these items?
Yes, I do.
And are these items that you collected from the Paseos neighborhood during the course of your processing of the scene?
Yes, it is.
At this time, the state would offer into evidence states exhibit 300 and 301.
Any objection? Admitted.
I'm going to show you states 302, 307, and 308. You can take a look at those three items for me.
Yes.
When you're collecting items, Ms. Bryant, do you make notation of what they are for purposes of packaging them and knowing once they're sealed what's inside?
Yes, I do.
And the items that you have here in states 302, 307, and 308, are they a fair and accurate representation of items that you collected during the course of your processing?
Yes, they are.
At this time, the state would offer into evidence states exhibit 302, 307, and 308.
Any objection? Admitted.
Okay. And 308 are the keys that were recovered from the culvert on the side of I-95.
Yes, they are.
And during the course of rendering the firearm safe, the rifle safe while you were on I-95, did you package the bullet from the rifle chamber?
Yes.
Okay, and is that states 307?
Yes, it is.
Now, when you went back to the Paseos neighborhood on February 6th, I believe you testified to, is that correct?
Yes, I believe.
During the daytime?
Yes, it was around 3:10.
Okay. And you were, at this point, you became aware that, did you become aware that the BMW that you had photographed hours before, around midnight, had become relevant and a part of the investigation?
That's when I was told, because they said I needed to recover a BMW that was reported stolen or it was involved in the case somehow or another. So, I'm sorry.
Sure. Happens, it happens. So that last comment, that was a mistake. The BMW was not reported stolen. Okay? That's my instruction to you.
Okay.
Go.
So although you had taken photographs of the BMW hours before as part of the scene, now that you're back out there, do you take more photographs specifically directed at the BMW?
Yes.
And did you go inside of the BMW while you were at Paseos?
No, it was locked.
Right. Did you photograph the outside of it?
Yes, I did.
In addition to photographing the outside of the vehicle, did you do anything else as a part of processing to the exterior?
I processed for latent fingerprints and swabbed for DNA.
And can you tell us what that process was as it pertains to late swab checking for prints?
Just using standard fingerprint powder, black fingerprint powder, and you dust the areas. I dusted the areas commonly touched on a car, like the door handles and the frames by the window where you would like grab your car and close it or open it, on both sides of the vehicle.
Okay. And this is states 160A. Is this the BMW that you went back and processed?
Yes, it is.
And was it in the same location as it had been hours before we were out there?
Yes, it was.
And you talked about testing for prints. This is 159B.
No, I can see it. No, I can see it.
Okay. What is it that we're seeing here in this picture in relation to what you did?
Okay. I don't want to blind anyone with this thing. Okay. This is where the fingerprints are. I put scales because it's a measurable piece of evidence, so I put the scales there in case, and when I photograph, it's in case a latent examiner needs to use that and make it a one-to-one photograph to match the size of the actual fingerprint.
What is the process that you go through in attempting to lift a print?
We use the powder, the standard powder. If a fingerprint or a smudge mark is developed, we'll put a piece of clear tape over that, try to get the powder on the tape, and then we pull the tape off and then place it on a latent fingerprint card, which is about a 4x6 little white card that has a shiny backside that you can put the tape on, and it will show the fingerprint that you lifted.
And do you know how many lift cards you were able to obtain, or lifts?
I think it was 3 or 4 or something like that.
And was that 3 or 4 that were of value, or?
Well, I lift everything if it's of value or no value, and then I'll go back to the station and review them, and then I fill out a little form that tells me what I did, its value, no value, and then whatever, if there is something of value in any one of those fingerprints, the entire collection of fingerprints will be sent to the sheriff's office to be checked by their latent examiners.
And when we say of value, of no value, what makes that determination? What are you looking for to make?
What I'm looking for is type lines. I'm looking for the information inside those type lines, such as we have class characteristics and individual characteristics. So we have loops and whorls and arches as our class characteristics. Everybody has those types of things. Our individual characteristics are the inside, like bifurcations and ending ridges. These points of identification is what I try to match up.
Okay. After you have lifted prints off of this car, do you do any other type of processing to the exterior?
Then I swabbed the area where I lifted the latent prints.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 302. Do you recognize this envelope?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize it to be?
That's the latent, or the swabs that I took from that area of the car.
And were the swabs done individually?
Yes.
Okay. And is this the envelope that you then put them in and sealed it?
Yes, inside this envelope are smaller envelopes, and each of the swabs, there's 2 cotton tip swabs that go into that little sleeve that they come from, and then they're put into a smaller, what we call a number 3 coin size envelope, and that's labeled with the information. And then we put those into this envelope.
And is this a fair and accurate representation with the labels of what you collected?
Yes, it is.
At this time, the state offers into evidence, State's Exhibit 302.
Any objection? I admit it again.
Was this BMW towed from the Paseos neighborhood?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I know you went to a lot of different scenes. Specifically, I want to talk about 1105 Mohawk.
Okay.
Did you respond to that scene on more than one occasion?
Several times,
Okay.
because I continually got directed to other scenes and had to go back there, so.
Okay. And on February 7th, was that a day that you responded back to 1105 Mohawk?
Yes,
Now, you told us yesterday that on one of the occasions that you went there and responded to the scene, that you talked about the processing you did on the inside of the house. Is that correct?
yes,
And inside of the house, you told us you photographed, you went room by room. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay, and did you find various guns throughout the inside of the house?
yes,
Okay. Did you also find drugs, paraphernalia inside of the house?
yes, we did.
And in addition to being a part of processing the inside of the house, did you also take part in the exterior? The backyard?
Yes, some of it, yes.
Okay. And CSI McClendon was also processing, she had already started processing the backyard specifically. That's what I want to talk about.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Did you take part in, as a part of processing, in attempting to locate whether it was bullets, projectiles, or casings in the backyard?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Do you recall how many days you went out in an effort to locate anything related to firearms? Like I said, whether it be projectiles, casings, fragments, or bullets?
And this is searching underground.
Yes.
Yes, almost, I think it was about 3 days we were doing that.
And what types of things, were you doing this by yourself?
No,
What types of things did you all do in an effort to locate projectiles or bullets?
we used the metal detectors, and we got some screens that when we do buried bodies or surface skeletons, we use these sifting screens. And so when we had several people working segments of the yard that we kind of coordinated off, and they would use a metal detector and go by and do as much of that area as possible. Anytime they had a ping of any sort, we would put like a flag in the ground to note the ping, and then we would start digging. And then besides digging in that hole, we would put the dirt from that hole alongside of the hole, and we would also use a metal detector over that dirt pile. And then we would start sifting that dirt pile. If we didn't find anything, we would again use a metal detector under the sifted dirt pile to see if there's another alert tone. If there was, we would repeat the process until we came up with whatever was causing that tone.
And during the process of using the metal detector, digging and sifting, did you find things other than projectiles or bullets or
Oh,
fragments?
yes, found a lot of things.
Okay. Soda tops?
Soda tops, the little things when you pop a soda and it has those little tabs. Those, nails, matchbox cars, tinfoil. I think we might have found a coin or two, like a penny or something. There was a lot of stuff.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 298 and 299. Are these two exhibits a very accurate representation, photographing what was taking place while you all were digging and attempting to locate any type of projectiles?
Yes, they are.
Okay, at this time, the state would offer into evidence State's Exhibits 298 and 299.
Admitted.
And I want you to take a look at States 24, 25, 26, 28, and 31. They've previously been admitted, and we're going to talk about those. Recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and these photos are also the crime scene at 1105 Mohawk?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now, I'm just going back briefly to, you were talking about the digging that took place in the backyard. Were you all able to find projectiles or some sort of fragment?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and
This area here is the ground, and as you can see, they have the yellow or the marker flags. And it's, each area is where we dug a hole, and this is what was recovered from these individual areas.
Okay, and 299. This is the area that we were concentrating on the ground, and this is what was recovered from that area. And this is the area that we concentrated on the ground, and this is what was recovered from that area. What are those orange flags we see?
They're just like survey flags, but we use them when we have like a lot of evidence in one area. Sometimes the yellow stanchions become too much because they're wide and they might move something. So we try to use like the survey flags because they take up less space and they still mark the evidence. We can photograph them from a distance and it shows where all the evidence is in the spatial location that they're together or separate.
Okay. You also went back out on February 8th,
Yes, I did.
okay? And was there more scanning of the backyard that was done?
Yes, there was.
While you were out there on the 8th, did you take note of a chair that appeared to have some type of hole in it?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and did you believe that to be a bullet hole?
Yes, it looked like a graze mark and then going through the back of the chair.
Okay. And did you notice that it was in a direction that you thought you might be able to follow the tracking of it?
From where it was, we did try to do that. We did try to track a path because it was, the way it looked like it was traveling, and it went through the chair and then probably continued to travel as we assumed.
And are we able to see the AC unit in this photograph?
That's the AC unit and that's the chair.
Did you attempt to locate a projectile that might have gone through that chair into the AC unit?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 260, 261, and 262. Recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
Are they a fair and accurate representation of the air conditioner unit on the exterior of 1105 Mohawk?
Yes, it is.
At this time, the state will offer into evidence states 260, 261, and 262.
Any objection? Admitted.
Okay. And as a part of your processing, when you were over on the side of the house by the AC unit, did you also observe a flip-flop?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that states 28. Is this the flip-flop that you observed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is it a Corona flip-flop?
I found out when I flipped it over, yes, it was.
Okay, and did you know, or do you know whether there was a matching flip-flop that was also found, also in the backyard, but a different location?
Yes.
Okay. Now, going back to the AC unit, actually, this is stage 262. The flip-flop that you found, and actually 28. Is this the flip-flop that you located?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is this the area that we see depicted here in the back where the flip-flop was found?
Yes, it is.
Going back to the AC unit, is that depicted here in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
Moving in closer, can you see what's depicted here in this photograph?
Yes, it's,
Okay. Can you tell us?
that right there is what we were photographing, and it's a fragment of a projectile.
Did you all ultimately go inside the AC unit and remove a panel off of it?
I didn't go inside myself. We had an officer that was taking apart the air conditioner.
And did you photograph?
I did photograph a lot of that, yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you 260. Can you tell us what we see here in this photo?
what I'm trying to depict in this photo is, and if I can, I think,
You can step down if you need to see.
I'd rather not, I'm
Okay.
not used to wearing heels.
See, why?
There is, over here, there was what appeared to be an entrance which was consistent with like a bullet hole. So if you follow this, it looks like okay, there, yes, okay. Right here is what we believed when we looked at the outside and we were checking the chair, we observed this hole in the air conditioner unit, and it appeared to be consistent with a bullet hole. So we had one of the officers open the top of the air conditioner, and we followed this, and it looked as if a moving projectile would have grazed this area and caused this damage, and then went underneath, or I'm sorry, right here, it would skip off, and then it would travel at a sideways, and that's what's causing this damage right here.
And that was in line or proximity of the chair that was?
Yes, it is.
In addition to taking photographs of the crime scene, specifically the AC unit, did you also collect the fragment or projectile that we just saw in the other photo?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I'm going to show you two exhibits. Show you State's Exhibit 304 and 307.
What is your 307 here? Do you want to make it 308? .303 and 304, says Damien.
We do not have a 304.
Is that correct?
Okay.
You show a 304, Damien?
The 30.
304.
I mean, 308. 309? Okay.
309 it is.
309 it is. Okay, I'm going to show you 309.
Okay. Yep, that's definitely what that says.
Okay. And are both 304 the fragment from the AC and 309 the flip-flop of fair and accurate representation of items collected and sealed?
Yes.
This time the state offers into evidence 304 and 309.
Any objection? Admitted.
Yes? Okay. As part of your processing, did you collect, well, I believe you testified that you and CSI McClendon worked together, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were there items that you collected on the scene, but CSI McClendon would have processes in packaging, even though you might have located them?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall collecting fragments from the scene, from the ground by the fire pit?
Yes.
Okay. And this is going to be Now, did you package the pair of dark colored gloves that you received?
Yes,
Right. And did you put them in a plastic bag, seal the bag, and notate it as to the items inside?
I did.
Right. And that would have been from I-95.
That was correct.
Okay. Did you also, going back to Paseos neighborhood, the blood stains that you testified about that were in the roadway, did you also swab those?
Yes, I did.
And did you place them inside an envelope and go through the same process you told us about not too long ago?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and this is a fair and accurate representation of the collection.
Yes, it is.
Specifically, a loose round that was cut out of a pair of pocket shorts at Paseos neighborhood. Did you collect that?
Yes, I did.
And was that a Perfecta? The brand?
Oh, I don't remember, but
Okay, would the labeling refresh your recollection?
yes.
Take a look at that for me.
Yes, Perfecta 40 Smith & Wesson.
And fair and accurate representation of what you collected and packaged it in.
Yes, it is.
And fragments from the backyard of 1105 Mohawk, were they, as a part of you all working together, collected and packaged?
Yes, they were.
At this time, the state would offer into evidence State's Exhibit 303, 305, 310, and 306.
No objection, Mr. Director, can you just identify each of those?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. 306, Perfecta loose round. 303, fragments from crime scene. 305, swabs from the blood stain in the roadway at Paseos Way. And 310, pair of dark colored gloves. Thank you. As a part of your duties as a crime scene investigator, do you ever make kind of a map, not necessarily to scale, of the crime scene?
Yes.
Okay. And what types of things do you put onto the map?
We try to put the most notable things, and sometimes it takes, we call them diagrams. Sometimes it takes multiple diagrams because you don't want to clutter everything up. If you have a lot of evidence, you do one diagram for this many pieces of evidence, and then you do a second diagram for the rest of the evidence. And you have your legend on your diagram to explain what each thing you're trying to focus on.
Okay. It's just a diagram.
All right.
It's 311, state exhibit. And this is a diagram that you prepared.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And on the far right corner, do we have the legend of what each colored X represents?
Yes, it does.
Okay, you notated what you believe to be blood or what was blood in the back of the house.
Yes.
And then there's 3 different colored X marks that you have related to a live round, projectile, or shell casing.
That's correct.
Okay. And you put kind of a stick model figure of the bodies that were in the backyard.
That's correct.
Okay. And does it appear that there is only one live round that was notated next to one of the bodies?
I believe so.
Okay, I'll give you a copy.
Okay. Yes.
And then we have projectiles that are located near that same body where the live round is. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that most of the shell casings are in kind of a particular area of the backyard?
Yes.
Okay. And then what do we have mostly going towards the AC unit?
Like projectile fragments and projectiles. It's the red, meaning it's a projectile. If it was a fragment, I included it as a projectile.
And during the course of processing the scene, did you all locate any type of live round projectile or shell casings anywhere on the other side of the pool or near the carport or the shed?
No. And some of the fragments that are on the diagram it's what we recovered under the ground and on top of the ground, just to confirm that, so.
Is it standard procedure to also kind of dig and sift to look for other projectile or casing?
If we know that there's something under the ground, we will do our dead level best to find it.
And going back to the scene at I-95, I'm going to approach and show you 312. Show you 312. You talked about a hoodie that you collected. Take a look at that for me.
Yes.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate representation of the packaging and label placed to identify the black hoodie that was recovered in the culvert on I-95?
Yes, it
It's
is.
time to state office into evidence, states 312.
Any objection? No. Admitted.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Of course you can.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Good morning.
Sorry about this cough. Excuse me. No, thank you. I'm fine. Ms. Bryant, it sounds like over the course of multiple days you spent hours and hours and hours sort of trooping through that backyard of 1105 Mohawk.
Yes, we
right?
did.
And before you even got there, there had been people trooping through that backyard, correct?
As far as I can say, probably.
Well, you weren't the first person from the Jupiter Police Department that arrived at that residence.
That's correct. I was not.
Law enforcement officers arrived there before the investigation actually began because they were responding to a report of a shooting.
Yes.
And I know you weren't part of that, but you understand that those officers made a tactical approach into that backyard in basically pitch black conditions, armed with rifles and a ballistic shield, those sorts of things.
Probably something of that nature.
And from the moment that you arrived, this was a scene of chaos that you observed when you got there, right?
Well, when I got there, it was, I think everybody had kind of like calmed down. So, because I got there like at the break of day, so.
And I guess what I mean by a scene of chaos is you came upon a scene where there were two bodies laying on the ground and a body in a chair, correct?
Yes.
A shooting had occurred at that location.
Yes.
Lawn chairs had been overturned and flipped over.
Yes.
You learned from tracking the evidence and from hearing about the rest of the investigation that a man named Charles Vorpagel had fled that area in the moment of chaos, right?
Yes.
And when you get to a scene to start documenting things and preserving the exact location, all you can do is deal with the scene that's left for you to process, right?
Exactly. It's just, when we first get to a scene and we're photographing, like I said yesterday, it's a true and accurate representation of the scene as we see it when we get there. We don't know what's been moved around or anything until we're told.
And of course, when the officers were first responding, not only did they take a tactical approach, but they also, checked for signs of life of the decedents, right?
I'm sure of that, yeah.
And attempted to, render aid and before they learned that it was too late to do that.
That's our protocol usually, yes.
You learned that they had moved one of the bodies out of the fire pit.
That I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
And
It's possible, though. I don't know it.
And so when you're marking the specific location of a shell casing or a unspent bullet, you don't know how it ended up in that exact location, right?
Exactly. I don't.
So you don't know if that's a shell casing landed or is at this particular location because that's where it landed when it was ejected from the gun, or if a police officer with a rifle drawn had kicked or unintentionally moved that object, right?
Exactly. It's as we see it when we're on the scene. It may not be the way it was when it originally occurred.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Sorry about that. Now, one of the first things that you did at the Mohawk scene, and I understand that they had you running around the town of Jupiter to various locations, but there was a time at which law enforcement obtained a search warrant from a judge to enter into and conduct a thorough search of the Mohawk residence, right?
That's correct.
And you were the crime scene investigator who photographed and collected the items that were recovered from inside the residence, correct?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what's been marked as Defense Composite 1A through U. And if you will just look through those and let us know if those are the photographs that you took and if those are, accurate as to what you observed inside Mr. Vorpagel's residence. And also photographs that were taken back at the Jupiter Police Department of particular items that you recovered from the residence.
Yes, I do.
These are the photographs that you took of the inside of the residence.
Yes, they are.
All right, I'd like to go through those with you. I move Defense 1A through U. That is
Admitted.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes, sir.
this is the kitchen area, and right here is the back door. So when you enter, the kitchen is going to be on your left side.
And Ms.
And-
Bryant, if I put up, I think this one is actually states 311. Is
We're
this door-
yes, that's the back door.
Okay.
And the kitchen is right there.
All right. And what, if anything, did you observe inside the kitchen?
There's what appears to be a rifle right by the door, and bottle of vodka with a cooler. There's some debris over here on the table, and there's a lot of stuff on the,
And obviously, you did not collect and process every object inside the entire house,
no, I
correct?
did not.
When you're going through a house like this, related to a case like this, are you looking primarily for contraband, weapons, drugs, those sorts of things?
Well, I can only tell you that I'm the photographer.
Okay.
The officers are looking for things. I'm going to make an assumption and say whatever's in the search warrant is what they're looking for.
Right, and you've been a crime scene investigator for many years.
Yes.
Right, and so it doesn't come as a surprise to you when a detective says, that bag of cocaine there, let's collect and package that, right?
No, it does not.
Because it's illegal to possess that.
Correct.
And so in terms of the room here, you would have collected that rifle there?
Well, we would have, and I think I marked it to collect, but I believe that there was a lot of the weapons were found to be like air pistols, and I believe we left those behind.
So the pellet guns, BB guns, those weren't collected?
I don't believe we collected those.
Just a closer up view of the table there on the kitchen?
Yes.
All right. And then D1C, what's observed in that photograph?
I'm focusing on this, it looks like a shotgun.
And did you collect that shotgun?
That shotgun was collected.
And just for the record, it's kind of propped against the front door?
Yes.
Okay. And now an item like the shotgun that you collected and took back to the police department, why do you do that?
Why do we?
Why do you take the shotgun versus the
Because it was a weapon as opposed to a air pistol.
Okay. And do you know what kind of weapon is this?
Looks like a shotgun.
Did you actually, throughout your reports, document specifically the make, model, and caliber of the various firearms that you found inside Mr. Vorpagel's house?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and do you know for this particular one what it is?
Not looking at it, no.
Looking at your report, would that help you with your memory about it?
I could, I have a list of my weapons in here.
Does that list help refresh your recollection about what items?
No, because that's from 95. Sorry. I have a list of all the weapons right here. So, and
Looking at your list, can you
Yeah.
tell us what this weapon is?
the problem I'm having with this is it may not be the same gun you showed me. It may be a different one.
So I'm showing you,
Yeah, there was one there, and I believe there was one there, and that other one might be the one that was behind the couch.
okay.
So, just,
Does this look like a shotgun to you?
it does, yes, yes.
Okay. And you did find in Mossberg 12 gauge pump?
Yes, I did, yes.
And based on your experience in law enforcement, does that look like a 12 gauge pump shotgun?
It does, yeah, somewhat,
Is
yes.
it pistol grip?
Yes,
As opposed to a
yes.
single stock?
Yes, thank you.
Now, on defense 1E, what are you, what's that picture showing?
That's showing, there's a bow, a crossbow, or bow, anyway. There was a couple of rifles there. There's a handgun, and then some storage things.
Are those ammunition boxes? These metal?
Yes, they look like ammunition. Mhm.
And how about this box right here?
It's a box of various, I don't know if it's ammo or it was gun parts or something like that. It was pieces of some types of weapons.
Is it a box of magazines that would fit into a rifle?
Yes, it might be. Yeah.
Looking a little closer.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's what it was.
Now, 1G, if there's 1G, do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That's like a rifle type weapon, long gun.
Is that a Kel-Tec PLR?
I believe that's the Kel-Tec, yes.
That's a firearm that shoots 5, 6, and 8 rounds?
Yes, it does.
And D1H, is that a picture back at the Jupiter Police Department of one of the rifles that we just saw in the other picture?
Yes.
That's a Century Arms 308 caliber rifle, right?
I do have a Century Arms on my list, yes.
And earlier you talked about, I think maybe even yesterday, that you labeled each room in the house with a letter so that you could keep track of what was found in each room.
Yes, we do.
The room that we were just looking at with the ammunition and that sort of white shelf and the 2 rifles propped up,
I believe that was room C.
is that like a bedroom or what kind of room?
It was a bedroom, but they had more, I don't think there was a bed in it. I think there might have been a drum set or something, and a fan, and then all the shelving with the,
With the guns
Yes,
and the ammo and
yes.
stuff, right? And how about D1I? What do we see in this picture?
I believe that is the Kel-Tec, I think. It's one of those.
Would that be the Daniel Defense DMK-18 5.56 NATO?
It might be. I know it was a,
As in that one right there?
yeah, it might be that one. I'm not 100% sure though, so I'm not a gun expert, so.
Where is this? Within the-
This is in the, what we consider the master bedroom, and that would be room E.
And Mr. Vorpagel's bedroom.
Yes.
And there's a Tupperware bin, storage bin in this. Did you look inside that?
They did open that, yes.
And what did you guys find in there?
And that is bundles of marijuana.
That was collected and taken by law enforcement?
Yes.
And what is D1L showing?
This is going to be a small pistol that we found in room F, which is next to what we consider the master bedroom, but it was more toward the back of the house, the back and east side of the house.
And is that a Raven Arms 25 caliber semi-auto pistol?
Yes, it is.
And how about D1M? What's that showing?
That's a Colt,
Is that a 357 revolver?
Colt 357, yes.
And where was that found?
That was, I believe that was also in room F, I think, room F or E, one of them.
And which was room F?
Room F was the east, the rear and the east side of the house.
What else was in room F?
I think there was some drug paraphernalia and I think there was some drugs there also.
And was that a room that had the couch in it and
Yes.
the coffee table in front of it?
Yes,
Kind of like a area where it looked like people had been maybe processing or packaging
yes,
drugs?
yes.
On D1N, And as Nancy, what's shown in that? Is that, and to back up, is that the same room that?
This is room C, I think, still. This is just a bunch of paraphernalia that we found, handcuffs, and I know we found a lot of ammo, we found gun parts, the handcuffs, there was so much stuff, I can't remember everything.
There's like a smoke grenade in that?
Yes, it was almost like walking into the SWAT closet. I guess that's the best rendition of it.
And during the time that you were going through the house and looking at all this stuff, did there come a time where you guys actually had to evacuate the house?
Yes, we did.
Okay, what happened?
One of the officers was going through, and I don't know which room because I was at that time I was at on I-95. So, but one of the officers was searching through the room and found.
Potentially, can I see you at the bench?
Ms. Bryant, without talking about what anybody told you about it, did there come a time when you went back to resume processing of this house and you collected what you've described in a report as a makeshift bomb?
Yeah, I don't know if I collected it or CSI McClendon did, but one of us was able to take it into custody. That.
And was that in the same room that had the ammunition?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
All
know
right.
that.
And E10, what is shown in this?
Some more ammo and gun parts and things.
And did all those items eventually get taken back to the Jupiter Police Department for processing by yourself and eventually turned over to the appropriate law enforcement agencies,
Yes, it did.
including Federal Bureau of Investigation?
Yes.
All right. Now, we went through some of the weaponry and ammunition that was found. You also found drugs and paraphernalia inside the house.
Yes, we did.
And what's shown here in D1Q, where was this inside the house? If you recall.
I don't remember.
All right.
But this is like white powdery substance, and then it's like a little rolled up piece of paper for like a makeshift straw, and then some powdery substance in a line.
Suspected powder cocaine.
Yes.
In D1S, are these the baggies that were found in this plastic Tupperware container that is depicted in Defense 1R?
Yes, and I believe now that I see the other pictures, it's either going to be in room E or F. Those rooms are the ones that had a lot of the.
And so E was the kind of the processing.
No, E was the master bedroom,
Okay.
and F was like the processing room.
All right. In D or Defense 1S, what is those bags of pills?
Yes,
And were you able to identify what those were?
I don't know.
Okay. You ever seen Xanax pills?
Yes.
In Defense 1T, what's shown in that picture?
Looks like a baggie with white powdery substance.
And when you get a bag of powder in these circumstances, based on what else you saw in the house, do you do any sort of testing of that?
We do not do drug testing.
Okay.
We can't do any, even in the presumptive test that they do we call an officer to do that, so.
And ultimately, it would be turned over to the appropriate law enforcement agency for whatever processing to determine what
That's
it was,
correct,
right?
yes.
But it was collected because it was suspected powder cocaine,
Yes,
right?
yes. Or crushed up pills, something.
And Defense 1U, what is depicted in that?
I didn't know what this was. I had to learn about this. It's like a little pack, and if you open it up, it's like a sticky goo stuff in it. And I think it's like a medication that you maybe. Okay.
Yeah, sustained. Pause, new question.
Were you able to look at the packaging of these particular items?
Yes.
and appeared to be some form of edible marijuana, THC-related product.
Something like that, yes.
And that was turned over to the appropriate law enforcement agencies as well, right?
That's correct, yes.
All right. I want to talk to you about the processing you did in the backyard that you were talking about with Miss Mixon. You know, the days that you guys spent recovering shell casings and projectiles. I'm going to show you what's been admitted as defense 2A through C, and I think you have some kind of duplicate documents in this case. So I want to look first. Defense 2A. Now, you talked about how the X's that are drawn in this diagram are the locations of the shell casings, projectiles, or unfired bullets, right?
That's correct.
And this diagram doesn't say, you know, out of the shell casings, which is a 7.62 rifle shell casing versus which is a 40 caliber pistol shell casing, right?
No, this is just to indicate where a projectile was found, a shell casing was found, or a live round was found. That's all I'm doing.
And obviously, you were at this scene and were taking pictures and collecting each and every place where there's an X.
Yes, yes.
And so you have a sense of where particular things were located based off your name, right?
What we did was each flag that was placed in front of what we could see on the ground visibly, at that time, we numbered, and as we collected, we named the box with whatever we were picking up.
And there's sort of a pattern in terms of where the rifle casings were located, in terms of being between the house and the fire pit here to the, I guess this would be
Oops.
the arrow.
Yeah.
That would be,
The majority of them were right along this area right here.
so this would be the sort of south and southwest of the fire pit. If this is
Yes,
north,
yes. Mhm.
okay. There were not rifle casings to the north of the fire pit.
No, no, no.
Ultimately, you recovered 22 shell casings.
It was something of that nature.
Cool. And I'm sure that you documented exactly how many it was.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
And is there anything you could look at that would refresh your recollection about that?
I only have one picture of all, and I can't see it because it's like about that big, of all of them.
You recall that 17 of the 22 shell casings were 7.62 rifle
Yes,
shell casings?
yes. The majority were the rifle.
And on this particular diagram with the X's, you lumped the projectiles, move away from the shell casings for a minute. You lumped the projectiles and the fragments into one category with being on the red X's on this diagram.
Yes.
In one of your other diagrams, you separated those things out, right? Actually, I showed this to Ms. McClendon yesterday. Do you recognize that? Might need to speak into the microphone for anyone hearing.
I believe this one was after we started digging, and this is documenting what we found under the ground or what was found at that time when we were using the metal detectors.
Okay.
I think that's what that one was for.
As far as intact projectiles, there were 4.
Yes.
Okay. Those were packaged, and your job wasn't to say what weapon fired those projectiles, right? It's just to collect them.
Yes.
At some point during your involvement in this case, you were asked to respond to the hospital where Mr. Vasata was,
Yes.
correct? And that was St. Mary's Hospital
Yes.
here in West Palm Beach?
Yes, it was.
And you went to the ICU?
Yes.
Mr. Vasata was intubated and in a medically induced coma?
Yes, he was.
And you did that to photograph his injuries, right?
As best I could, they had him covered up for the most part, so I just was able to photograph him in the room pretty much.
If I can show you the Fence Composite 5A through H, you recognize these as the photographs that you took at St. Mary's Hospital of Mr. Vasata's injuries?
That's not mine.
You don't? Let me ask you, looking at these pictures, you didn't take these?
No. No. Nope. No. No.
Okay. Do you remember what Mr. Vasata looked like in the hospital?
He was under the covers, and I think he might have had both hands sticking out because he had IVs in them, and he was intubated, and I could barely see anything of him.
Okay.
So.
These are, although you did take pictures, these are not the pictures.
Those are not my pictures, no.
Just one moment, ma'am.
Okay.
It's all right. No further questions?
No further questions.
Redirect? Go ahead, ma'am.
Ms. Bryant, when you are asked to photograph a part of the processing of the inside of the residence of 1105 Mohawk, would you agree that there were no bodies found inside?
No bodies.
Okay. And were there any shell casings or fragments found inside that you photographed? Meaning fragments or projectiles?
No.
Okay. There were bullets that you found?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any casings that were found like you found outside in the backyard?
No.
Okay. And you talked about there being various casings that were found in the backyard that were marked with the X on your, I don't want to call it a map, you referred to it, diagram. Would you agree there were also casings belonging to a .40 caliber found out there?
Yes.
Okay. And did you mark each one outside saying where each casing, which casing was which for the different caliber?
Yeah, with the flags, we wrote on the orange little tag that's on the flag, we wrote like number one, not one, but we started at whatever we were at, and it was, and then if it was a casing, we put a C. If it was a projectile, I think we put a P, something like that. And then when we collected it in the box that we put the contents in, it was written on top of the box as well.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, there were both casings found outside?
Yes.
.40 caliber and a rifle?
Yes.
Was there anything that you saw as a part of your processing that was related to the guns found in the house outside?
No,
Okay. And what you believe or what was suspected to be drugs in the residence, did you do any testing?
no, we do not do testing.
Okay, may I have just a moment, Your Honor? No further questions. Thank you.
All right, you may step down. Watch your step. All right, jurors, we've been going at it pretty good. I'm going to give you about a 10-minute break. Does anybody need to get outside or smoke or anything like that? Then great, it makes it faster. You put your pads upside down in your chairs. You're not going to talk about the case. We'll put you in the jury room, grab yourself some coffee. Feel free to bring it out with you. And we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. Lawyers, I give you 10 minutes as well.